Hi, my name is Sadie, and welcome to my channel, all about my journey of being a self-taught multimedia artist. I got a great video today planned. It's all about watercolor. I finally got to put together my first professional watercolor palette, which is something I've been wanting to do for years. And I just kind of go through the whole process. I talk about the colors I picked for my first little batch of colors that I'm gonna get, as well as, why I picked those colors and how they've been working out for me. And yeah, my thoughts, my tips, my tricks, if you're thinking about maybe putting together a watercolor palette of your own. So before I dive into everything with the watercolor, I just wanted to talk real quickly about my past experiences with this medium. I was first introduced to watercolor when I was about 13 years old, but I honestly didn't really start to appreciate it until the end of high school, my senior year. I had a wonderful teacher, Terry Huff, at Valley High, who really challenged me to make more art. And one of the mediums he had given us for the year to work with was very generic, very poor quality watercolor pan set. And I ended up painting a painting based off of another artist's work, which I'll put up on the screen. I can't remember his name right now. Anyways. And yeah, it won an award among the district, which was just great. It was a great experience for me, and it taught me a really valuable lesson. It taught me that it really doesn't matter the quality of your art supplies. That's not what makes good art. So anyways, fast forward, after high school, for various reasons, I unfortunately took about like 5 years off of really making any art. And when I decided I really wanted to start getting back into that passion of mine, I wanted to start with a medium I had never tried before. So I actually started with oil paints, which is another medium that I really love. And it was great. I exclusively used just oil paints for about 5 years. And then I kind of felt this longing to challenge myself, and I felt like watercolor would be a great medium to try next and go back to. So I want to be really honest about this experience and how it went. So when I picked watercolors back up and started trying to use them again, it was a pretty frustrating experience. They're very different than oils, which is what I had been using, and I was extremely out of practice. And so I kind of decided to just start over with learning all the basics of watercolor again, which helped a good amount because, again, it had been so long. It took some time and a lot of practice. I had to keep practicing, but I ended up coming to the realization that the way that I liked to use watercolor had evolved since I was in high school. When I was in high school and painting with it, I remember I liked to paint with it in a very controlled manner. And it seems to be something that is common among beginners with watercolor, is that they want to control this medium. And that is definitely not one of the best qualities of watercolor, is that it is so uncontrollable. And that became a quality that I really loved about it. In my sketchbook, I'd find that when I would try to make the watercolor do something in particular, I didn't like the results that would come out from it. I ended up liking the results that were unexpected. I liked how the colors would bleed into each other and how they would, spread across the page and how they would flow together. I mean, it's a wonderful medium for just teaching you to let go and let it flow. It made me fall even more in love with color because the watercolors against white paper, they're just so vibrant and beautiful and inspiring. And I find myself reaching for this medium more and more, especially because the setup is not is hard. as oil paints, you know, which is very helpful, very useful. So what I hope that you take from my story, basically, is that whether you're, you know, at the beginning of your watercolor journey, maybe you're in a place of frustration with it like I was, I just hope that you don't give it up. I hope you keep pushing, you keep practicing, because it's a medium that opens up a whole new world of possibility to let out that inner creativity. All right. Sorry, my setup is not ideal. I know you can see. This leg of my tripod right here, but it's kind of the best that I could get to happen for right now. So yeah. Awesome. Okay, so if you hear anything outside, I just want it to be known that my kids are around. I haven't been able to figure out a very consistent schedule where I can film with them not around, so I'm just saying sorry right now that they are as loud as they are gonna be, I'm sure. Anyways, so if you've looked around online, you'll no doubt know, if you've looked around online at anything watercolor related, you'll no doubt know that there is just a ton of content out there, vlogs, videos, all sorts of stuff about the different brands, the features of each, the qualities of the brands, all sorts of stuff, and it can get very overwhelming very fast. And it doesn't help that once you start shopping around for these watercolor tubes that are tiny, by the way. Some of them are bigger, you know, you got, and then some of them are just tiny, but the price goes up significantly. So I had a couple things that I really wanted to keep in mind while I was shopping around for my watercolors. One is I really wanted to limit the number of colors that I was going to be getting. And that's something that they say to do all over the place. They say to just start with a couple colors, which is, I started with more than a couple colors for sure. But my goal was to kind of just stick to different variations of the primary colors. So I could figure out, you know, oh, I like this yellow for this property, and I like this yellow for that property, and, you know, stuff like that. And I also wanted to keep in mind how they would work together, how they would, you know, blend together, what colors I might be able to create. I had to take into fact the consideration that I like to paint landscapes, you know, florals, as well as portraits, so I needed a palette that would function and be able to do both. I also decided to start with just the one brand of watercolor, so that I could get very familiar with the qualities of one brand before I added a different brand to my palette. Oh man. I decided to start with the Daniel Smith brand, which was really hard to narrow it down because there's so many brands I wanted to try. But there's a couple reasons I picked this brand to start with. The first reason was because it seems to be fairly beloved by artists. Another was that it's manufactured and milled in the US, right out of, like, I think Washington, Seattle or something. Another thing was that it was, like, basically the only brand that I could find local. Like, all the other brands, you have to order them online. But the biggest seller for me was actually these swatch sheets that they sell. And again, these are all over the internet as well. People have talked about these and tried these out. I'm not new to the game on this, but these are wonderful. Loved that I could, you know, buy this for $25. It's like 4 sheets. And swatch the colors and see them in real life before I spent the money. And it was a lot of fun. I holed up for like 2 months and I just kept swatching all of them. And yeah, so like if you're looking for something fun to do, you want to find some new colors, you want to try a professional brand, this is a great option for that. And it's just these like dabs of color, if you can kind of see that. And I've already swatched these a couple times and there's still dabs of paint. So I could just keep coming back and re-swatching them, reusing them. So, you know, yeah, good chunk of use out of very little money for that. So when I got these swatch sheets, I wanted to make sure that I swatched them in a way that would be really useful, that I could go back to over and over again to, you know, look at to purchase new colors in the future. And so I got this generic cold press watercolor pad. It's 6 inches by 8 inches. And I wish I would have gotten like a hardbound cover though book. Like I didn't think that I was gonna need something as durable as because I used this actually. I used this in reference back to it a lot more than I thought I would. But anyways, I just swatched the colors in here. And I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted to hold on to this notion that it didn't matter. These colors, these paints, they weren't gonna be that much better than, you know, what I had been using. And if you can't tell by looking at them, which I feel like the camera is not gonna do them justice, these colors are gorgeous. After I swatched all of these, I found myself, I mean, I wanted every single color basically, which is, you know, absolutely like not possible, but it's very easy to just be like, oh, I want all of them. And so the process of whittling down the colors that I really did actually want was a whole process. It took forever for me to try to figure that out. And again, one of the things that I focused on the most was sticking to primary colors and keeping in mind what I needed to use the colors for. And then another thing that I was taking into consideration, I mean, it wasn't the most important quality to me, but it was still really important, was I really wanted to try to not buy anything that was kind of toxic. I wanted these paints to be as clean as I could get them. Again, they have a lot of, it's called Primatech colors on here that are made with gemstones and natural pigments. And they are, again, very beautiful. I really want to invest more in those, but they are fairly expensive. So, you know, slowly but surely, I'm gonna try to figure that out. And then another thing that I did, another swatch test thing that I did was I cut out all this mixed media paper and cut them into squares and painted the swatches on there as well, because I felt like it would be really helpful to, you know, get in mind how I would arrange my palette. Anyways, and so I just took those little swatches and laid them out to, you know, match my palette. And I'm pretty sure it's 54 pans. And the way that I was kind of using it was like the bright colors on this side, the more natural colors on this side. It hasn't really panned out to look like this palette yet. I've added things that I didn't expect, but maybe one day it might kind of look like this. We'll see. The palette I ended up buying was this aluminum palette. They're very popular. They're all over the place. I got it off Amazon. I know, don't tell anybody. And on Amazon, Medine, the brand Medine, they sell these. This is not that brand though. This is a generic brand. I didn't really notice that I was buying a different brand at the time. But I'm actually really grateful that I did, because I like this palette way more. I actually bought a smaller Medine palette like this a couple weeks ago, and I ended up returning it because it just felt way more flimsy than this. Nothing against Medine, they make a lot of great stuff, but just for some reason I wasn't into the palette, the aluminum palette that I got from them. So, anyways, but yeah, just really sturdy, you know. I've dropped it and it's totally fine. I put my contact information and it's kind of all beat up because I've been using it. But yeah, and this just comes out. And I know a lot of artists keep their palettes like this because it looks so nice, and it really does, but I tend to not. I don't know, I just keep it in here and I close it. I don't want dust and stuff falling into it. So, and I've never had an issue with these pans coming out. They do not come out. They're a little hard to get out, but it's not that bad. If you get this palette, sorry, I dropped it in like some of the dry, like burnt umber and stuff, just, I don't know, wouldn't stay in there. But if you get this palette, I want to warn you right now, very careful, because this metal right here, it's like not finished and it will cut you really bad. So again, just, yeah, be careful. Anyway, so these are the 14 colors that I started with. And if you can't tell, they're kind of variations of primary colors, you know, different shades of kind of red, different yellows, lots of yellows, some blues. I wish I would have been able to get some more blues, but I'm gonna go through the colors because they're wonderful. I mean, I picked all of these colors for a reason. So for one, if you have done any research on watercolor, you have no doubt heard of the quinacridone family of colors because they are just absolutely stunning. I had to get as many of those as I could. So this first one, Azo Yellow, I picked that because the variety of tones that I could get was so great. A really hard choice. I still really want to try their Lemon Yellow and their Hansa Yellow Light. I think that would be what I would choose besides this. And then I went with this Paraline Red. It's kind of a more cool red. Again, a wide range of tones that you can get from this color as well. Even though it is slightly a cool red though, there's no muddiness to it at all. So there's no muddiness to it at all. So there's no muddiness. I picked a lighter blue and a darker blue. I thought that would be, again, pretty helpful for mixing, for skies, to have two different options. Again, great range of colors, or tones, sorry, that you can get with both of these. This is Manganese Blue and Phthalo Blue, the green shade version. I really want to try the red shade too. The only thing is I have noticed since painting with these colors, and this isn't necessarily a deal breaker, but this Phthalo Blue, on this sheet, it has this key down here, and it's very useful, really important. It shows the light fastness rating, the non-staining or staining properties, the granulation or the transparency. And for this color, it says that it's a staining shade, right? So it's not going to lift up and keep moving a whole lot. And that is not what I have found. I have found that this is, you know, you can repick it back up very easily. And it's not my favorite thing for some of the work that I do. I might switch this out because of that quality. Anyways. I also got the new Gamboge, I think that's how you pronounce that, and absolutely, again, beautiful color, very light to very dark, and the dark is just this golden, warm yellow. It's almost like an orange. Just love that color. As well as this color. I had to buy this color. I didn't necessarily need it, but it is so beautiful. It's the Aussie Red Gold. It can be very light, it can get very dark, and the dark is just the most beautiful, like warm red, orange, brownish color. It's stunning. Like, I really hope it does it justice. And then I was really trying to figure out portrait painting with watercolor, because that's always been something I've wanted to do more of, and it is kind of hard, right? Like for me, it's been hard to figure out how to do portraits in watercolor. And this is the color that I picked for like my main skin tone, which is raw sienna light. I think most people pick like yellow Naples or something like that. That's a really common color, or yellow ochre is another really common color people use for skin tones. I liked this one. I just felt like, again, it can be very light, it can get very dark. I felt like I could mix it with quinacridone gold over here to make it a little more, you know, yellow. I could mix it with this quinacridone burnt orange to make it a little more brown. I just thought it would be a really good color for that, and it has been so far. I've been very happy with this color. Another extremely popular color everyone talks about, and for good reason, is this opera rose color. It's absolutely stunning. It is vibrant. It's so bright. It's like a neon, a neon pink color. And it's just so wonderful for everything, for florals, and skin tones. It just makes your complexion glow. Like it's just so wonderful. I highly recommend it. I know a lot of people don't like Opera Rose because of its light fast rating. If you put this in the sun, it will fade over time really fast. But if you're an artist that's just keeping your paintings in a sketchbook for yourself, or you're reproducing them to sell, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't get this color. It's so invaluable to my palette. Okay, and then going into the quinacridone family of what I got this quinacridone gold, which is, again, it's way more of a yellow color than their quinacridone deep gold, but the darker you get, the more brown it does get. A wonderful color. I really like the quinacridone deep gold too. It definitely gets more dark brown than its sister color. And in all honesty though, I think that if I really, had to narrow things down, I probably would not get this color again, just because it would save me more space in my palette if I just got this color and then added some shades of brown to it or something like that. This is quinacridone burnt orange, which is, it's a great color. Compared to the quinacridone deep gold, it's got way more red in it. It's kind of a reddish burnt brown. It's, again, so wonderful for landscapes, for portraits, so versatile. I also got this quinacridone burnt sienna, which is definitely like a red brown. It's beautiful, again, for everything. So versatile. It can get really light. It's absolutely wonderful for portraits. I love that color. And then I think it's kind of weird. I feel like this is burnt scarlet. Almost, I don't know, but this color is quinacridone burnt scarlet. And yeah, it's a dark brown. There's not really any red. I mean, maybe a little bit. I haven't really used it as much as I thought, but it's again, it's a really wonderful color. It's great for shadows. And then last but not least, I got quinacridone rose, and I will probably be buying this again. This is probably a permanent for my watercolor palette. I know a lot of people really like Rose Madder Permanent as another color compared to this one, but I think I like this one more. I like the option that it's not permanent. And a really popular color of Daniel Smith's is this Rose of Ultramarine right here. It is stunning. This one right here. Let me get it. And it's basically a mix of two different colors. It's a mix of this quinacridone rose and the ultramarine blue. And that's something I'd really like to mix myself and have in my palette because of how, again, amazing the color is. All right, so once I got all the swatches for the colors I bought done. Sorry, this is falling apart, my sketchbook. I got this, the first spread in this sketchbook is a big old swatch sheet of the colors of, sorry, let me get it, of all the colors that I bought. So, I don't know, it's so funny. I'm finishing this sketchbook and I'm going to be starting my next sketchbook. And it's just so funny that I'm finishing this sketchbook that I started with these watercolors, and I'm finishing up this video about these colors. It's just, it feels like everything kind of came full circle, you know? Yeah, see, I wonder if I messed up the swatches. Let me just point this out real quick. But yeah, I wonder if I messed the swatches up, because right here it says this is quinacridone burnt scarlet, which looks like this. And I said this is burnt sienna. Sorry, I just want to bring this up. And then this one says it's quinacridone sienna, and it's this really orange color. I feel like something happened with that. Like that's burnt sienna. No, I don't know. And then this one is quinacridone burnt orange, which is a really brown, dark brown. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just so you know, like, tried to figure that out. I don't know what happened with that. Anyways, after I swatched all the colors and I had been getting really familiar with them, I decided to make my first ever mixing chart. Yeah, this was really fun. I really recommend, if you get some new watercolor paints, that you do this eventually. The only thing I want to bring up is if I ever make a color chart like this again, a mixing chart, it will not look like this. Because I need a color mixing chart that shows all the variations of color that I can get with two colors. And this is just one color that you can get with mixing two colors. So this kind of doesn't work for me and what I need it for. But again, it was so fun. And it really showed me some of the beautiful colors that I could get with very little colors really in my palette. And so I made this color palette mixing chart thing, and it gave me a clue as to the colors that I ended up needing to pre-mix. So in this palette, I keep my key, my palette key. I've never made one of these before, obviously, not really having a watercolor palette of my own that I put together. I didn't need to do this. But again, I have used this so much. I didn't think it was going to be as useful as it is, but it's been so useful. Like when I'm outside, I can pull this out and I'm in a different lighting situation, and it shows really well like what the colors actually look like, you know, in that lighting situation. So that's been very helpful for that. And I just took multimedia paper, I painted the swatches on there, and then I covered it in like tape, like shipping tape or something, to make it waterproof. And then I also wrote when I made this key, which was the summer of 2023. It's been a couple years now. And that was really helpful. I'm really glad that I wrote that on there. I did cover with tape some of the colors that I haven't, you know, brought up, that I'm yet to be revealed, I guess, right? Anyways, a big reason why I wanted to show this though was because, again, just a couple colors, I was able to make so many other colors, like all of these greens right here, which have come in so much handy. Like when I have been painting garden scenes or nature of any sort, having all these various different types of greens pre-mixed has been so amazing. And then also I've been able to get some of these really beautiful purples. Oh, sorry, that's quinacridone rose, but some of these beautiful purples right here. And also some of these like smoky gray blue colors. There's a really popular color from Daniel Smith called lavender. And I was able to get this color from mixing opera rose and manganese blue hue. That looks very similar to the lavender color from Daniel Smith, and I actually think I like this one more. So big bonus right there. Anyways. So far, all this research that I did to put together this watercolor palette has really paid off for me. I'm more in love with my watercolor practice than I ever have been. And I'm just so excited to see all the beautiful art that we can create together. I really appreciate you hanging out, talking watercolor with me. I titled this video something like putting together my first professional watercolor palette part 1, because I have since added more colors that I would love to talk about. So part 2 will be coming out fairly soon. And just a reminder, if you really want to hear my thoughts on the rest of the Daniel Smith colors, I will be posting that video up on my Patreon. It might be a couple more weeks before that video comes out, but that's where I will be putting up all the updates for when that will happen. If you liked this video, I would appreciate a comment, a like, a subscription, whatever you want. It helps me out. Sorry, it helps me out. So yeah, and let me know if you've tried watercolor. Let me know if you've tried the Daniel Smith watercolors. Let me know if you have a favorite color. Let me know if there's other brands out there that you want to try, because I'm telling you, my list of brands that I want to try of watercolor just keeps growing. There's so many out there, and I love all the different, there's so many different options. I'd really love to try and get all my watercolors to be kind of more natural based, like natural pigments and stuff. That would be great. Anyways, I know that the world is crazy right now, and maybe your creativity has taken a backseat to anxiety. But I really hope you don't give up this radical act of self-expression. Take care.